Hi everybody, it's Michael again. I'm back with another walkthrough video, and today I'm going to look at this game. Funkenschlag, die ersten Funken, or Power Grid, the first sparks, designed by Friedemann Friese. It's published by 2F Spiele, or I guess Rio Grande Games, in the US. It's a game for 2 to 6 players, ages 12 and up, and it takes about 60 minutes. As usual, I will set up the game and show you how a typical game could play out, this time for 3 players, because for 2 players there's a rule with a dummy player, so I guess showing you a 3-player game is the most straightforward entry into how the game is played. As I usually say, I don't try to teach you the strategy of the game, because first, this is something I guess everybody should discover for himself, and second, it's a little hard for me to play proper strategies for all the players. Actually, in this game, because it's really easy to screw up and take yourself out of the game, I will actually show you some strategy by showing you what not to do. So, not to foreshadow or to spoil too much, but in this game you will see that one player will be able to get ahead of the others because stupid choices by the other players. And if you like, you can make a game out of it, stop the video after, I don't know, 5 minutes and make guesses of who will be the winning player. Yeah, but that's about it. Okay, so I've set up a game for 3 players according to the suggested setup for starting players, which is mainly about the map over here and also how the initial clans members of each player are placed. And before we start the game, let's just take a brief look at all the components. So, as I already said, this is the game board, and each player has a starting clans member there. Each player has a personal area where he has his remaining clans members, a herb card, and 7 food. So that's the yellow player's play area here. Red player looks exactly the same, only that his herb card has a higher number here, and the same for the blue player. Then over here we have the technology market with the technologies from 7 to 10 in the current market and the technologies from 11 to 14 in the future market. Then we have the remaining technologies here. However, this is a 3-player game, so I removed 6 cards at random, and there I put the shuffle card at the bottom of the stack. And finally over here we have the resource board, where we've set up 4 berries, 2 fish, 2 mammoths and 3 deer, according to the numbers that are printed on here. And finally there are the resupply markers, and for that we have to take a look at the table in the rule book. So for example, for 3-player it says take 3 berries as a base, but then there are another 2 berries on the board, and so that's actually 5. So basically, for the correct number of players, take a look at the numbers in the rules and then add 1 for each of these spots available on the board, and then you arrive at the resupply numbers and you put the cardboard tokens on there. Then over here we have the supply of grain. Here we have the remaining animals and berries. And down here we have 2 tracks. One is the clans member track, where each player starts at a 1, because each of them has 1 clans member on the board already. And then we have the turn order track, which is normally based on the clans members, but since there's a tie, we take a look at the numbers of the technology cards. Whoever has the highest goes first, and because blue has number 3, he goes first, followed by red and yellow. And really finally now, down here we have the reference cards. So one tells us how a round plays out, the different phases, and then we have one here how valuable the different tokens are. So for example, mammoth is worth 4 food and berries are worth 2 food. And over here we have the costs, how much it costs to actually expand your clan. Okay, so I guess we're ready to start the game. So the first phase in a round is the phase where the players can buy new technologies from here. And this round is played in player order, so the blue player will start and put up one of the available technologies up for offer. But actually before that, we put one food on the lowest technology in the market. Okay, so the blue player is next to deer, and to hunt deer he would like a bow. The problem is the bow is in the future market and not in the current market. So what he would actually like if he could go last, because by then the bow will probably and hopefully be up here. So what he will try to do now is offer cards that the other players would like. And so he starts with offering this basket, hoping that the yellow player who's next to the berries will actually want it. So the blue player puts it up for offer, and now in descending player order the players can say whether they would like it or not to have it for 0 food. And the red player passes, he doesn't want it, but the yellow player does. So he actually gets this card. He doesn't have to pay anything because the cost is 0. We can put him down here so we know he already bought a card. And we flip up a new card. It's 28. So the market will now look like this. And then again the blue player will have to put something up, again hoping that he will get the bow. So what he does now is he offers the this acre here, hoping that the red player will bite, also knowing that the red player is probably interested in this fishing rod down here, which won't come up this turn. Yeah, but because of spite or something, the red player actually says he doesn't want it. So what happens now is that the blue player will have to take it by himself, for himself. So he gets it, he has to pay a food. We flip up a new card, we can put him down. And the market looks like this. And then the red player basically has freedom of choice, and he takes the fire. He has to pay a food. And we flip our new card. It's 25. Okay, at the end of this phase, we check whether the technology where we put this food on is still there. If it is, we will remove the food and we take that technology out of play because it didn't get selected. And we flip up a replacement. Okay, also in this first phase, food spoils. So basically each player loses a third of their food, rounded down, except if they have fire. So the red player actually doesn't lose anything because he has fire. The blue player loses 2. And the same goes for the yellow player. Okay, after that it's time to go hunting. And hunting is done in reverse player order, so actually the yellow player is allowed to go first. And the yellow player has 2 technology cards that are applicable here. First, for his herbs card, he simply gets 1 food. And for his berries card, we see that if there are 1 to 6 berries in the supply, he gets 1 berry. If there are 7 or more, he gets 2. In the supply there's currently 4, so he gets 1 of them. And the blue player just has herbs for 1 and an acre for 3, so he gets 4 food altogether. After that, players have to feed their clans members. Each player has 1 clans member, so basically each of them has to pay food. And now it's time to spread the clans. Again, the last player starts. And for spreading the clan, we have this handy table here. So based on how many clans members you want to place, it costs more and more. So spreading the clan is played in reverse player order. So yellow player starts. He wants to place 2 new clan members, so that costs 3 food. The berries go back here, not in the supply. So 2 clans members, and he wants to place one here, going for the fish, and one over here, going for the mammoth. Then the red player also wants to place 2 clan members, so he pays 3 food. And he decides to move first here, and then back here. And now the blue player, seeing that he's been cornered in a little, decides to play it slow and only place 1 clans member actually, and he pays 1 food for doing that. Okay, now after that we have the bureaucracy round, where we adjust the clans members. So blue and yellow have 3 each, blue has only 2, so blue is definitely in last place. And we see that red has a technology number 9, yellow has a technology number 8, so actually red goes before yellow, so that's a new player order. Then we have to resupply the food, so we get 5 new berries, 3 new fish, 2 new deer, and 3 new mammals. Okay, and after that we have to manipulate the technology market. The highest technology goes under the stack. We flip over a new one and put it there. So that was the first round. So what happens first in the next technology phase is that we put a food here on the lowest technology available, and then red is up to offer something, and he offers the bow, hoping that blue will take it. Yellow doesn't want it, and blue actually takes it for 1 food. And we flip up a second fire card. Then red is up to offer something again, and now he's a little bit in a tight spot because both the fishing rod and the spear are interesting, but yellow is actually also next to the relevant places, so whatever he offers, yellow will probably also want it. So what red actually does is he offers up the berries, and yellow doesn't want it, so red has to take it for himself, and he doesn't have to pay anything because there's the food on here which we can calculate towards that. We flip up a new card. And now yellow has all the choices in the world, and he actually takes the spare for 2 food. Okay, so the lowest card was actually taken, so there's nothing we need to do here. Then a third of the food spoils again. So for blue, that's 5 altogether, so that's 1. For red, nothing spoils because of the fire. And yellow only has 2 food, so nothing spoils. Okay, so hunting. Starting with blue. Blue gets 4 food for his acres and herbs. And the bow says 1 to 7 deer, give 1 deer. There's 5 deer in the supply, so he gets 1 deer. Then yellow is up next. Yellow gets 1 food for his herbs. Berries. In the supply there's 8 berries, so he actually gets a better choice of 2. And then the spare, 1 to 7 mammoth, give 1 mammoth, so there's 5, so he gets 1. And finally red gets 1 food for his herbs, and there's 5 berries left, which will give him the better choice of 2. Okay, then it's clan feeding time. Blue has to pay 2 for his 2 clan members. Yellow has 3, which he decides to pay like this. and red has also 3. So here we go. Okay, spreading the clan. Blue goes first, and he decides to place 3 new clan members here, here, and here. Normally 3 clan members cost 6 food, but he's crossing a mountain here, so that's 1 extra, so 7 altogether. He had 9, so he gets 2 back. Yellow decides to place 2 clans members and to actually block red in and not gain access to new resources by putting 1 here and 1 here. And 2 clan members cost 3 food. And then red decides to place 2 of his clan members, going back here and here to avoid the additional costs. And 2 clan members cost him 3. Okay, so now yellow and blue are at 5, red also, sorry about that. And yellow has the highest technology number with a 14. Then it's blue with a 12 and red with a 10. So that's actually how the player order now looks like.
Then what's next is the new resources. 5 berries, 3 fish, 2 deer, and 3. And then the high technology is discarded and replaced.
Okay, lowest technology card gets a food, and yellow puts up this card, knowing that this is basically the only thing that red will be able to buy, because he only has a food, and he already has a fire, and blue passes, and red actually buys the fishing rod. Now, he has 3 cards, but one of them is a knowledge card, so actually red can still take this, because you're allowed to have 3 technology cards, 3 tool cards, and any amount of knowledge cards beyond that. And gets replaced. Okay, now it's yellow's turn to offer something again, and he decides to offer the spare, very well knowing that blue won't be able to pay with only 2 food remaining. So yeah, he gets it for 3 food. Now he has to discard another tool card, and he decides to discard the herbs he started with. And he has to pay 3 food for the spare. And now it's blue, and he decides to take a fishing rod, paying his last 2 food. And he also decides to ditch his starting herbs count. Okay. So, then food spoiling. Blue doesn't have any food. Red has 1 food, and besides that he has a fire. Yellow has 2 food, so actually nothing spoils for anybody. And now it's harvesting and hunting time. Red goes first. Red gets a food for his herbs. Then berries. There are more than 5 berries, so he gets 2. And for the fishing rod, 1 to 7 fish mean he gets 1, and 8 or more fish means he gets 2. There's actually 8 fish in here, so he gets 2 of them. Then blue is next. Blue gets 3 food for his acre. Then there's 6 fish remaining, which rounds up 2. And finally, looking at deer, it's only 6, so he gets 1 of them. Then the yellow player, for his basket there's still 7 berries out there, so he actually gets 2. and then he decides that it doesn't basically matter, or it does matter, so he uses this bear first, because if there's 6 or more mammoths, he gets 2, so he gets 2, and then for the other, if there's 1 to 7, he gets 1, so that's another 1. Okay, then after that it's feeding time, and basically each of them has to pay 5 food, so that's, for example, that doesn't, okay, a fish, 2 fish, but he gets 1 back. A fish and a berry, and 2 berries and a food. Okay, Red only has 7 food left, so basically he can't afford to place 2 clans member, because he has to put them where already somebody else is. So he actually only decides to put 1 over here. So 1 clans member is 1, but because he's a second to arrive in the spot, that's 2 extra, so 3 altogether. Blue decides to place 3 new clans members, which costs him 6 food. And yellow decides to play 2. 1 here and 1 here. So 2 would normally be 3, but each of them costs an additional 2, so that's 7 altogether. Okay, so blue is at 8, yellow is at 7, and red is at 6. So this gives us a play on the tiebreakers. After that, okay, so the blue player, okay, before the blue player does anything, we put food on here, and then the blue player puts up the language, fortune, and the yellow player is not so interested because he has enough food to spread, but the red player is, and he takes it, and he has to pay 3. Then the blue player puts up the basket for auction, and the yellow player says he takes it, showing the other basket, having to pay 3. And then finally the blue player can take the intelligence, which he actually wanted, for 3. And what happens immediately is that the blue player is treated as being 1 behind in the player order. Then we have to discard the fire because nobody wanted it. After that, food spoils. Red has a fire, blue has no food left, yellow has exactly 3 food, so he loses 1. Okay, then it's hunting time. The red player gets 1 for his herbs. He gets only 1 fish, because there's only 7 here. And then 2 berries. The blue player gets 3 for his acre, then actually 2 fish because there's at least 6 in here, and finally 1 deer because there's 7 and he would need 8. And the yellow player, for his basket, there are more than 7 in here, so he actually had 3 of them. And then no way in which It doesn't matter in which way he uses his spares, because for that one he only gets 1 this time, because there aren't 8 in there. But there's now at least still 6, so he gets at least 2 for the other one. Okay, then feeding. The blue player has to pay 8. Then the red player has to pay 6. And the yellow player has to pay 7. The red player decides not to place any clans member at all because he just can't afford it. And the blue player, with only 4 food left, actually can afford it as well. Now, before the yellow player expands, let me just rewind the situation a little, because I saw I made a mistake. When the yellow player was harvesting, there were actually 7 mammoths in there. And I said he would have trouble for using the spare because he needed at least 8. But the yellow player is next to 2 sources of mammoth, and that allows him to add a virtual one to the offer here, so which will make it actually 8. So he would get 2. And then, since there's still 6 or more, again adding the virtual one, he would get another 2. Then the yellow player decides to put out 3 additional clan members because he will just can't afford it. 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. So 3 clansmen would normally be 6, but each one of them is a second to go there, so that's another 3 times 2. 6 plus 6 is 12 altogether. And then it's bureaucracy. So the yellow player now has 10, and the others stay the same. The play order would be like this. However, the blue player, due to his intelligence, is now actually last. At the start of the next round, again 1 food goes in here. The yellow player puts up the basket, the red player says he wants it, and the blue player lets him have it. So red player discards the other basket, pays 3 food. Then the yellow player puts up the fishing rod, and the blue player wants it. And yeah, then the yellow player can actually grab this new spear here, which is very fortunate for him, paying 3 food for it. And at the end of the phase, this gets removed from the game. Okay, now actually the shuffle card came up, so for now we just leave it in here. Okay, then food spoils, but no player has enough food for anything to spoil actually. And now it's hunting time. The blue player gets his usual 3. Then for the fishing rod, there are 7 fish in here, which gives him 3. And finally, looking at the deer, now there's 8 in there, so actually it gets 2. The red player gets 1 food for his herbs, Then for the fishing rod, he only gets 1 fish. And for the berries, there's 8 or more in here, so he actually gets 4. The yellow player has 6 berries in the supply, but again he's next to 2 berries now, so he can pretend there's 7, which is good for him because then he gets 3. For the spare, using that one first, that needs 6 for 2, which he gets, and then the other one needs only 4 for 2, which he also gets. Feeding, he has to pay 10. Blue has to pay 8. And red has to pay 6. Blue decides to put down 2 new clans members. Here and here. 2 normally costs 3, but additional 2 for each of them, so that's 7 altogether. The red player also decides to put new clans members, which thanks to the language he can afford. So going here and here. 2 clans member costs 3, and for him, going in a space where there is already another clans member only costs him an additional 1, so he can place 2 new clans members by actually paying only 5 altogether. And then the yellow player decides to put 3 down here, here, and here. So 3 clans members going where already another clans member is each costs 12, as we've already established. And so he's at 13, which will actually end the game. The red player is at 8, and the blue player is at 10, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 10. Okay, so right now the game would end because we have 1 player who's at 13, he would win. But let me just show you another thing, because of this shuffle card in here, what would have happened if we were to continue the game. So when we come to the bureaucracy phase, I have actually to tell you that I should have done it this way before, because the shuffle card gets put in here as the highest card in the market. And what happens then is that the lowest card and the shuffle card are removed from the game. And now basically we have a large market of 6 cards which are always available. So there's no current and future market anymore, there's only just one big current market with 6 cards. And also in each bureaucracy phase the highest card doesn't get discarded anymore. But that's it. That's the whole game of Power Grid, the first Sparks. Okay, well, so that was a complete game of Funkenschlag, die ersten Funken. And by now, yeah, well, you know how to play the game and you know how to not play the game, because I showed you all the rules and how the game is played. And I also showed you what errors you can probably make. And the other 2 players should have never allowed the yellow player to gain this monopoly on this bears and the mammoth. And there was a critical moment in the game where they both decided to actually buy knowledge cards and not further tools. But this is how it can go. But yeah, now you know, and hopefully make it better. Have fun, and until next time. Bye bye.